Hello. Welcome to the final hours of Bug Busters Kickstarter. I just thought I'd hop on and kind of, I don't know, just get out there and just talk about games and a little bit about Bug Busters. If you had any questions about that, we are closing in on, we have 107 backers and we have 4 hours to go. So very grateful for all 107 of my backers for this little tiny game called Bug Busters. For those that are unaware of it, I will maybe pop it on the screen here just to talk to it in a little bit more depth. It's a tabletop role-playing game. That's what we do here on Daiku Games. Talk about tabletop role-playing games and all the good things that tabletop role-playing games do for our socialness, our creativity. I've often said when people are, maybe socially awkward or they're like maybe just not used to being around other people, that you put a game in front of them and it kind of helps bridge those social tensions because now there's all of a sudden an activity for you to all participate in. And tabletop role-playing games is, I think, one of the best ways to actually do that is to just get yourself out of your character. It also allows you the persona of whoever your character is, and you can kind of live out vicariously through the character. And so some things that you may have never even thought about doing or trying, and you're able to I guess live in a way that you've always thought of living, or at least in fiction worlds that you can live. And I did a documentary called The Friendly Local Game Store. I interviewed like a lot of folks here in Calgary. It's the game store is the world's largest. It's called the Century Box. And one of the things that was just underlying all those interviews that I did of folks talking about why they love role-playing games or board games was the community that surrounds them. So, it's hard not to get, I guess, emotional about it, because I think anybody that's in this space understands that. And you're always trying to convey to other folks like, hey, this would be something fun for you to try. And I know sometimes it's difficult to get people to play at the table, especially role-playing games. I think a lot of them are daunting for folks, especially when it comes to like playing a character. And so what happens is, they might be pretty quiet at that first table that they sit at. And then each time they get going and they understand how to play tabletop role-playing games better, they just have a better understanding of what the game entails. And pretty soon they're out there and they're like either GMing or they're designing their own games, which is cool. I mean, I think every GM eventually thinks that they go, hey, I could design my own role-playing game. This is kind of cool. There's a lot of mechanics out there that they can kind of play off of and fit the genre that they're trying to achieve. And it's actually been kind of maybe interesting that I saw Powered by the Apocalypse is doing a new Kickstarter for their 3rd edition. I'm I don't know if I'm like, I guess there's some story game aspects that I really enjoy. There's others that I think contribute to how would you say it? Maybe theater kid vibes, which I think can ruin the role-playing game experience when you're performative. That's just me, at least. But for the most part, like I really like the idea and the concept of story games, because they immerse you in the genre and they force the genre emulation, which is super cool. But you pretty much, it's like, monster of the week. You pretty much know there's going to be like a murder or like a monster doing something, and then you investigate, and then you end up defeating the monster at the end, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like it's like episodic, and it doesn't leave a lot of like wiggle room as far as what happens in the gray areas of the game. Like, well, what if Buffy didn't want to go kill that monster? What if Buffy wanted to like go to the prom, or I don't know what. I'm just saying that like the beauty of what the kind of games I like, which is the OSR, is that they're very loose as far as what you do and the shenanigans that your players can kind of get up to. And so with that said, that's kind of been underlying my philosophy that the game is really freewheeling, and you allow the players to dictate what happens, and the GM just feeds off of it. I know often like I have almost zero prep when it comes to like my GMing style. I just kind of riff off whatever the players are doing, and it takes either a lot of confidence or a lot of stupidity, either way, to be able to sit and riff off the players, because you're kind of playing without a tight you're on a tightrope without a net underneath you, and you don't want to look stupid in front of the players, understandably, and you're kind of holding up the game for folks to have fun. And there's a lot of kind of inherent responsibility that comes with that when you're running a game, so to speak. And so like it's a little bit of a prestigious job of being a GM. And I know there's like over the years there's been bigger pushes for like player agency and mechanics that kind of give more player agency, which is fine, and I think that's actually good in a lot of respects. But the way my philosophy on doing a game design is to have it a collaborative effort, including the GM, but the GM plays the world and basically just feeds off what is happening. And it's a lot of improv, and it's a lot of just play and kind of like riff off what the players do, and then the GM will respond accordingly as the world, and then the players once again kind of circle back and keep going. But that was the way I think a role-playing game that kind of works for me, at least. And that's why I created this little game called Bug Busters, which you can see up here on the screen. And so Bug Busters popped into my head probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I've got a list of like maybe 50 or so kind of concepts and ideas, and I thought this was going to be like a little tiny zine, and it was going to be scrappy working class exterminators that get thrown into a situation where they fight off aliens. Like you can think of like Nope or Critters, or I always thought it should be like in a kind of more rural setting where there's a small town vibes to it. But I always wanted it kind of to be like that B movie, like Eight-Legged Freaks, and the aliens aren't necessarily intelligent. They're more like critters, but the folks that are supporting them, or the head aliens, maybe almost like Starship Troopers, have that like kind of psychology, or like psionics and like that kind of thing, where they're kind of running the show, but they have these kind of like feral aliens, these bugs that kind of do their dirty work for them. So that's kind of the concept of it. And these, basically truck driver, working class bug busters have failed careers, and they've all come to work at Bug Busters as exterminators, and they kind of get into these shenanigans along the way. You can, as you scroll down, you can see some of the illustrations. They're probably not big enough on the screen here, but those are by Kyle Hazard. Some great illustrations, and Mac Tag, some other ones, and the Strange Things animated GIF there. I wonder if I could zoom in so everybody can see that a little bit better. Oh, that's too far. It's from Connor's Corn Maze, and once again feeding into that like rural setting. And I thought, what better place to have the first encounter is in a corn maze. There's just so much to do there. And another question that often kind of got asked was like, okay, so like, what does the gameplay loop look like? And so, just as an example, like I put there's some bullets here that like a grocery clerk is bitten by an oversized insect, and then they quotation marks they say they must have hitched a ride from South America. I don't know if you've always seen those kind of like urban legends of like South American bananas and they big giant spiders being brought in. I think that might have been even the plot of Tarantula, that old B movie. Weird graffiti, cockroaches being painted around town of all things. And so that's a faction within the game, the roach riders or road trippers, that they are a nihilist skateboard gang, and they're like trying to end the world, similar to what you might find like I did. That's an homage to 12 Monkeys, where it's like this like suicide death cult that think that humans should just die and that the insects should take over the world, like the cockroaches. So that's how that kind of came to be. And then, white vans with radar dishes, similar to what you might find in Stranger Things. And I don't know, has anybody watched that first 5 minutes of Stranger Things? I know I'm really looking forward to watching the full series. I know I've got two daughters that are now, 23 and 21. And they grew up on Stranger Things. And I remember making them watch it for the very first time because I was one of those like D&D kids, just like in the show. That was like, it struck a chord with me. And I think a lot of other folks that it was just like a very cool show. And it's really cool to see that it's coming to an end. And I hope they stick the landing, because I'm super worried that they won't. But I have trust in the Duffer Brothers that they're going to do a good job. And the other kind of thing I was super interested in is that, like when Stranger Things came out, like 80s were a thing. And for me, like 90s grunge era was like predominant in my life. And so I was always hoping that maybe they would get to the 90s, and maybe they will in this final season of Stranger Things. And that's, I thought, just like I have it here with me, Kids on Bikes. I don't know if anybody's ever played it, but, this is a really good game for if you want to emulate the Stranger Things, Kids on Bikes mysteries. Really lovely game. And I thought, maybe Bugbusters might end up being in the zeitgeist of the 90s here. And, but maybe too soon. I don't know. 90s, my two daughters are saying, well, it's not quite like that where the 90s are coming back, but who knows, maybe in a couple of years they will. And I'll have Bugbusters ready to go for anybody that wants to emulate the 90s. So going back to some of the other stuff, you got white vans with radar dishes parked around town. When the citizens ask, the workers just say they're fixing phone lines. So there's mysteries, there's underlying mysteries around your little town. There's a new exterminator company in town. All of their employees have the same ghostly white hair and baby blue eyes. So that's an homage to Village of the Damned. And so you can imagine a rival exterminator group that or company that has all spoiler alert, clones that are out there being exterminators and an opposing faction for you to battle against. And it's your job to figure out what's going on. There's like lots of mysteries. So it's a little bit X-Files. It's a little bit like you don't know what's going on. There's no clear answers. You can't trust the government. You trust no one. And at the same time, you're trying to pay your bills, and you are a blue-collared worker for Doug's Bugbusters. And so Doug founded the Bugbusters in the 80s during the Swarm Wars, and there's a whole backstory set in the 80s with the Swarm Wars. And Doug saved the planet, but nobody believed him. Everybody said it was just like a weird anomaly, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but he knew better, and so he's been building up franchises around your Midwest town to combat the Bug Buster. So you can get the core book, and we just passed our stretch goal. So even though it says 196 pages, I think we're at 204 with the stretch goal. So it's even thicker than that. So more bugs to bust. You can see you can upgrade the adventure zine. And at Connor's Corn Maze, so you get like a little tiny zine, and there's a fold-out map. And one of the things that I absolutely love is when you just like lay a map in front of folks at the table and just go, where do you want to go? And going back to that whole conversation of, OSR and having freedom, it's almost like an amusement park map where you go, I just want to go there, and you point on the map, and there's something to poke, prod, and like connect with, and each place has their own thing. And then as you explore, you uncover more, and you can do your own things. You can go, there's not like a railroad of you have to do this first or have to do that first. Like you're just investigating this area. So there's a map of the whole farm rural area, and you can kind of poke and prod and see what's out there. And then I don't know if other people have ever found this, but you get like a nice thick book. And then you're like, okay, let's all make characters and play. However, everybody's like looking at the same sections, and it's very tough. So there's also a extra zine add-in where you can get the employee zine. So that's going to give you all your backgrounds, how to play the game, all the rules. And then the second one is the equipment guide. And we went to town on this equipment guide. This has all sorts of cool different gear. Zap Masters, each one of them has their own write-up. There's an old a game called Car Wars, and I grew up on Car Wars, and they had these Uncle Albert zines that each year they would put out like a zine with like all new gear. And so it was like the Sears catalog wish book, and you would flip through it, and you would like see all these funny write-ups about like, mine droppers or mine throwers or flamethrowers or, laser guns and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, and it was always kind of tongue in cheek about like what these weapons could do. And that's really inspired the gear section, as far as there's all sorts of crazy things you can do. There's like a electro lash that also has like a remote control, and it's got like a magnetic topper that you can click to metal, and you can swing from it. So lots of the weapons have like usually 3 or 4 kind of different uses. There's the Insectosonic, which if you crank it up, you can make cones of silence, and you can like blast things. And so they're almost like magic weapons. I've kind of used that reference before. But so those are the books. There's the print versions, and then the digital ones. So there's like digital ones if you are just happy to kind of keep things digital. You can see some of the sample spreads there with like saving throws, and each character also gets mixtape. So you have a fight song and a chill song, and you get merit badges. You can see and your name patch, and everybody's got a call sign. So this one's Pitbull. There's patches for advancement. You can see there's, instead of like getting XP, you get patches, and those give you benefit in the game, and you earn the badges by doing things in the game. So very much like XP, but you get to explore a little bit more and like learn from your mistakes, or learn from being in sticky situations, no pun intended. Then the style of it is dial-up internet and flannel shirts. This is the 90s, and I don't know if anybody else remembers that, but I used to like I'd click to load a website when early days, and my modem was so slow that I would literally go get a cup of coffee and then come back to the computer, and it would finish loading the page. So I don't think people of this era understand how bad dial-up internet was. And at the time, it was like still so amazing, because the whole world was in theory at your fingertips, although there was not too many websites out there, to be frank about that. It was just like early days of the internet, but those were the best days of the internet, if you ask me. I thought some of the weird stuff that you would find out there of just passion projects. And I think, to me, like that's one of the things that I really love about the internet is passion projects that people just go, I like this. I want to talk about this and I'm going to do this. And the social media has kind of stolen that a little bit over the years. I think that I still kind of prefer there, finally moved. I figured out how to like make the whole vertical thing work. I'm only halfway through the live stream, so I finally figured out why it wasn't working. So very cool that the overlays were blocking that. Now I wonder if I can really make this bigger. Maybe not. Okay. Well, anyways, I'll just press on, as they say. But Internet days. Where was I? Internet days. And then also the movies of that era. If you watch Tremors, Critters, Men in Black, that's kind of the vibe that we're going for. Repo Man is another one where it's got like supernatural elements that you're like in the movie he was a repo man, but there's like aliens and there's like nihilists and like all sorts of things. They live where the aliens are like right there in plain sight, going back to that Strange Things animated GIF where the Connors were zooming in and out of American Gothic. And then Starship Troopers, Arachnophobia, like going out to a barn and going, what's in here? And Aliens, obviously, like when, especially Aliens 2 or Aliens, where they like shoot all the aliens and stuff. It's just, who doesn't like shooting some alien bugs that are trying to take over? Layout and design. There's kind of three fundamental kind of approaches that I took, which was the 90s kind of punk poster, concert poster. I wanted that vibe for the characters. And for the employee handbook, for the content, I looked all around. I love finding old vintage employee handbooks, and that one there that you can see on the screen, that's from NASA, and which I thought was super cool. And I just wanted to kind of emulate that a little bit. And then I don't know if anybody's had comic books from the 80s where they would like go to the back before the era of like comics. Now they would never dare put like an advertising in the comic because it's just too valuable of real estate that they couldn't waste it on an ad. But at the time, that's how they were helping fund the comic book. And so you'd see these like really cool ads in the back and sendaways, and you can see in the bottom corner, like, and I think it's Peggy there, but we have Susan for Bugbusters that you can call Susan at Bugbuster HQ and get some gear ordered. And then if anybody has ever played my other game, which is called Fangasahola, and you can download a free copy there. The link is right on our Kickstarter. You can download, an free, limited art, but it's free, and you can check it out. We've got we got the King Kringle adventure, which is perfect for Halloween and Christmas. But ultimately, it's a dice pool system, and we took it a step further than just dice. And now I'm going to get into trouble because I think what bugs me about a lot of dice pool systems is the 6 is a success, and 4 or 5 is a mixed success, and a 3 is like whatever. And it seems to be like that's always the thing. I think Forbidden Lands and the Free League system or Year Zero engine, with them having just 6 as the success, personally, I kind of like that a little bit more. And because I don't know, it just seems it's inelegant to have like 2 numbers be something and 1 number be something and 3 other numbers be a different thing. I kind of like it just being 6, 6 as the success. But anyways, I digress. I think those kind of like 5, 6 successes are a little bit clunky. I actually, in this system, you take the top 2 of the dice. So you build your dice pool and you take the top 2. And inherently, it's very easy where you just like look and you see it and you automatically kind of can tell your top 2 dice. Like, it's surprising. So I don't recommend using numbered dice. I think the pips are the dice that you want to use so that you can like quickly see. So you might get multiple 6s or multiple 5s or whatever the case might be, but you can instantly spot the top 2. It's very quick. And so on a scale of 12, you basically say if this is super difficult, it's a 12, and you take your top 2 dice. And the other, maybe elegant, I would hope, is that you basically have your attribute score be the number of action dice you get to roll. And then if you have an advantage, you get 1 extra dice. And if you have a disadvantage, you lose a dice. So if you're super strong, you might even have 5 action dice. But if you're like being held, maybe you're at a disadvantage, so you only get 4 action dice. But ultimately, you get that many dice to roll, and you take the top 2. And then we like really leaned into like, what's the point of having a dice pool unless it does everything? So everything is interconnected with the dice pool, and including doom dice. And so when you get a black die, that's a doom die, and that tracks your hit point damage and equivalent of it, or trauma. And you also make saving throws with these dice. And the saving throw score that you're trying to get under is also linked to your attribute. So if, once again, talking about that strong character, if you are super strong, all you have to do is get 5 or under to not get a saving throw. So there's 2 core mechanics at play, but they're interlocked. And I think I'm going to make a video. I got like this little cartoon character of a goblin. I called him Gary the Goblin, and I made him, and there's like a motion capture thing where like he wiggles his head and his ears, and he can lip sync to what I'm saying. And believe it or not, I've got a goblin voice in me. I don't want to do it here because it often creeps people out, because I can actually make a cool goblin voice. So look for that in the near future of the rules for Fang'asahôla and the system, and little animated guy talking about how to play the game. But anyways, the dice roller, if I can bring it up on the screen here, as mentioned. So if you've got, say, 4 strength and you roll, immediately you can kind of see that it's 7, or sorry, 8. I'm not even doing my math. The microphone's in the way, so you'll forgive me. So if you just roll a game, 9. And so these are the rolls: 8, 11, 7. So you can do that. The other thing that you can do is, if you go like, this is like a really important roll. Oh, it's not even showing my thing. Hold on. Let me, I'm going to stop my screen here and add a new one. That's not working. Hold on, because this is worth checking out here. There we go. Okay. Bear with me here. So if you got 4 action dice, that's essentially how it rolls. So we have an online dice roller, because I know a lot of people play online. And so if you want to play online, there is an online dice roller. And you can see here, you got a 12, you got a 10, you got a 7. And at any point, if you go, you know what, this is like a really important roll I want to make, you can actually add doom dice. So what happens is you add 1 doom die into the mix, and that immediately goes on your doom stack, and that stack is how you track trauma. So in theory, like, you could go, this is so important, I'm going to use 3 black dice and if you then roll, well, the fun of the game is, look how lame your black dice were, your doom dice. You wasted 3 doom dice that are automatically going to go on your doom stack, but you only rolled 1, 2, and 1 with those black dice, and it was the white dice that actually were the two highest. So they actually didn't benefit. So there's a risk reward element to the game. And as well, if you failed, in this instance, there's a 9 score. If you failed and it was like 10, you could use luck, and therefore you got a 5, and now you actually do have 10, the 2 5s together. So that is kind of how the rolling system works. And sometimes it's fun to just kind of roll, and you can just keep rolling and rolling and rolling, and you can play online and just roll. You can reset the numbers, or you can just change them here. This was a little bit of HTML coding. I got back in my groove of when I was first learning how to make websites, and I was like, I bet you I could code a site to make a dice roller. So anyways, this is my little dice roller. You can access it through the website. There's and you can also have the dice roller on your phone. So if you want to do any dice rolling, you can just have it on your phone at the table as well. If you don't have a lot of dice, kind of limits you as far as you'll have to track a lot of other stuff on paper. But anyways, that's the little dice roll. I've always been kind of happy with this thing, because you do, like I said, as soon as you see the pips, you can kind of spot the top two pretty easy. So anyways, I'm going to remove that for a sec. And bring back the Bug Buster Kickstarter. And if anybody else has got questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. So yeah, there's a dice roller that you have access to, thanks to my handy HTML coding. You can make a Bug Buster super quick. There's just a D66 table, and you get your past, and you get maybe a quirk, and then you get your gear. Often, if you have a character that maybe worked at Radio Shack, they would have advantages for different things in the computer realm. If they're an DJ, they might be able to have an advantage if they're using the Insectosonic, which uses sonic waves. So little things like that. There's a lot of differences with it. And also there's each character has a mixtape, a fight song, and a chill song. And you get advantages if once per game for either of those, if you have a fight song or a chill song playing. There's also a Bug Buster playlist here. So if you are interested in the music that would probably go nicely with Bug Busters, you can check it out on the YouTube playlist. It's got some really cool music on it. You can see the character sheet here on basically how you make a character. Step 1, you roll your D66 past. You improve attributes. That's just a quick saving throw for each one to see if you improve it or not. And then you record your gear and weapons. You choose your songs that reflect your character. You make a mixtape of a fight song and a chill song. So whatever you think the character represents. Then you choose your call sign, and you are up and running. It's that quick to get a character going. You can see here we've got the core rulebook mock-up, and it's now over 200 pages thanks to us reaching a stretch goal recently. And I'll correct that in the specs. And then we've got the creepy corn maze, and you got basically your zine and a fold-out map that you can kind of put on the table for your players to gather around. You've got the option to include a couple zines for the table. So you got your, like I said, how to make a character, and then the equipment. And then we've got our first 80 print backers get their name in the book. So I would think we're over that. So we'll see how that plays out. And then just some samples. You can see some of the prosthetics here, because Bug Busters do lose some limbs from time to time, depending upon if your Doomstack topples. And you've got your dispatcher section where you talk about how to run the game. So that's the GM, like how to dispatch the Bug Busters, and then bugs and how to make them yourself. There's going to be a whole bunch that you can just kind of choose from, and all the factions that are supporting the bugs, sympathizers of these bugs, or maybe been infiltrated, or actually are bugs themselves. And you got your dive bars, you've got your fast food restaurants, and you can see the stretch goals there. And you can also add on the game that I mentioned. It's free if you want to get the limited art version. There's only like 3 or 4 pages difference as far as art goes, but you can download that from the link if you want the art limited version, or you can buy it through the add-on here. And you also get the Eye of Kia. And if you didn't get that, there's the little guys on the front of the Fungus Hola. They obviously have like IKEA vibes to them. So the adventure is called the Eye of Kia. And then King Kringle, where the Pumpkin Prince tries to take over Christmas, essentially. So it's pumpkins versus Christmas there. So it's anyways, it's hopefully a fun game. And I should mention, if you're sitting there watching and going, I've never heard of you, I don't know anything that you do. Maybe you've seen me interview some folks on here before. I'm Gary Snow. This is I'm the sole person kind of behind the Daiku podcast, and then I've got this great team assembled here for the art that I mentioned. We've got Biohazard, and MacTag and Bazubko. If you check them out on Instagram, their art is amazing. You should hire them if you're thinking about making a game, if you like what you see here. And I should mention that during the Kickstarter, so we are down to the wire here in 3 hours. So if you're watching this later, sorry, but down to the wire here, 3 hours in order to get it with free shipping in North America and reduced shipping in the rest of the world. So now's your chance to back the Kickstarter. And yeah, I think it's a lot of fun stuff for the folks here. If you haven't seen the videos before, there's, tries to capture the spirit of the game. So, check it out. There is late backing. So if you are on the fence and you're going, well, I'll think about it. You have 3 hours to get free shipping. After that, you are SOL. That is back up to the full price. But check it out if you're interested. Go to bugbusters.ltd. That will redirect you to the Kickstarter. And yeah, that's about it. I'm appreciative of the community and all the games that are kind of coming out in this space, in the OSR space. And even though, if I go full circle now back to where we started about OSR and how I design games and play games, I really like minimalist games. And I like the rules to kind of get out of the way. But if the rules come into play, like speaking of like the dice tower, like the Doom stack, if you're going to introduce mechanics into the game, you might as well make them effing fun, right? So that's where the Doom stack comes in. Is everybody always likes to go, get the mechanics out of the way. So yeah, but when they come in, make them fun. And that's been my my whole idea behind this game, is to make the mechanics and the dice as fun as possible. And I can't help but think, I don't know if any Gen Alpha are watching us. So, I'm a Gen Xer. So that's essentially what's been driving my kind of 90s vibe to this, is I'm a Gen Xer. But I mentioned earlier, my two daughters are 23 and 21. And they are kind of getting to that point where they're sick of technology, and they're sick of doing things digitally, and they don't feel as connected. I really do think that there's going to be this trend moving forward to more being in person and being physical, and doing things at tables, and playing games is going to be, I think, maybe one of those things that people really enjoy doing in person. And I'll tell you, no game, there's, I think, Dread with the Jenga tower, but this is a fun game, when you're playing and you're stacking dice. And same with the Fengus Ahola game. When you're playing at a convention, it's fun. You get to be around other people. You see them stacking wobbly dice, and when they have to put a Doom dice on their stack, and it's already wobbling, it's kind of a fun thing where everybody's on edge. Nobody wants to touch the table. Anyways, it's, like I said, get the mechanics out of the way. But if you're going to get the mechanics in the game, make them fun. And I think when I stumbled across the idea of building off the old West End game system and making the Doom stack. This is like, I guess, 4 or 5 years old now that I've been kind of working on this. But when I discovered it, I went, this is it. Like, I love this system. It plays the way I like it to. It's quick and fast. All the roles are player facing. The cognitive load on the dispatcher or GM is like super low. Like, you rarely roll as a GM, rarely. It's all kind of on the player is just going, this is what we do. And as the GM, you react to it and verbally and just tell them what's happening, and maybe tracking the bugs or the bad guys' own damage and Doom. Other than that, like, this is totally player facing game. So you just run the game, run the world. And that's the way I kind of envision the way OSR should be. So that's about it. We're getting down here. So 2 hours. If you want to go and back the game on Kickstarter, like I said, you can go to bugbusters.ltd, which is funny that that's a domain. A domain that is I'm going to mute this and then run that again, but it's a domain name like .com. There's a .ltd, and you can buy a .ltd. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's the domain I'm going to choose, is .ltd. So go to bugbusters.ltd. You can back it before the deadline here and get free shipping. And if you've sat with me this whole time, thanks. And if you're a backer, very grateful for that. And we will be getting preview copies out in February for you to play at the table, and we'll be printing them and then shipping them. And so there's going to be chances for late pledges for folks that whether they can't do it now. I know Christmas is coming, and the economy is shaky and all those things. But if we persevere and survive in the new year, I hope maybe some late pledges are in order, and we'll hopefully get some copies for you game reviewers out there, and check it out. It's one of those things that I am so passionate about this game. Like, at first I thought maybe I should have just kept it as a zine, but like, it sings all together when you put it as the 4 sections, and they're all kind of equal. The players rules section and the gear section, and the after that the dispatcher section, and then the bugs and bestiary just all worked out so well. So I'm very happy that we've expanded our page count with the stretch goals, and now we are in the final hours. So thanks for being on this little journey. I'm Gary Snow, and I interview people. It's funny, I was like looking at the stats on my channel here, and somebody made a comment in another YouTuber, and they said, it's always kind of interesting because you interview all these folks that design different games, and you never know if they're coming in because they like the designers, because they like the game that you're talking about, or they like you, or a combination of the three. And I looked at my stats, and I was like, I've got over 300,000 views on my channels. And I'm sure it's a mix of some of those where they really like a designer I'm interviewing, or their game that they're creating. And I don't know. I hope we've developed a little bit of a relationship that you go, oh yeah, that's Gary Snow. I recognize him, and you can trust that this game is going to be everything that I hope it can be, and I'll do my best to make that happen. So anyways, I'll get off my soapbox about gaming and the importance of it, and the importance of the community, and just say thanks for being along on this little last hour pitch for Bugbusters. And if you have any questions, hit me on social media. I'm easy to find at daikugames.com, and I will see you after the Kickstarter, I'm sure. So thanks again.